Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And today is Throat Punch Thursday.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Who's ready?
It's Throat Punch Thursday, bitch.
As Mike would say, that's what happens when you walk around wearing ranger panties. Anyway, good time today. Good things happening, and we've got some really, really good throat punch stories for you today. So we're going to have a good time. Mike, I have to be honest, Mike is he's going to try and get here. He really is he's working right now, and he's working to try and get here to be with us. But right now, hey, I'm here, you're here, we're going to have a good time. By the way, I want to let you guys know, this time next week, I will be in Houston, so we may or may not be doing the show on Thursday from Houston, or I will be doing the show from Houston. I don't know if Mike will be there yet, so we'll probably be doing the show, but then Friday we'll be doing the show from NRA, the NRA annual meeting, right there it'll be in Houston, Texas. If you are going to be at the NRA annual conference, please come on over and say hello. I would love to hear from you. Would love to chat you up, man. Just tell us what you think of the program, and just want to get selfies. Just to know that there are people out there listening. I know you're watching, right? I know you're listening. I see the audience numbers, so I know you're there. But you know, it's always good to check in with you guys and have you and talk with you guys. So if you get a chance and you're gonna be there, then be there. All right. That's all I ask. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the new that was easy for me to say. Let's go ahead and get into the our sponsors here real quick. And I totally blanked that I was supposed to make that so that you could not see it. Where's that? There it goes. Nope, that ain't it. Oh, the image carousel. That's the one I was supposed to turn off. Bam, here we go. All right, let's try that again. There you go. Let's start with a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start off with Hitman Industries. They make rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase at any length. All you have to do is go to hitmanindustries.net, check them out, and get your new barrel today. Start your project, start your journey, whatever you want to call it. Start it with Hitman Industries. Then we've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservatives at all levels of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. In fact, the California Republican Party is holding its annual conference this year, or this weekend. That's going to be down in San Diego, California, and you're going to have a chance to hear from the two Republicans that are likely to be the top two candidates, the only two candidates in the fall election. For governor of California might actually elect a Republican governor, y'all, just so y'all know. And that's in no small part because of thanks to the work of folks like the California Republican Assembly. Go to their website, cragop.org. That's cragop.org, and check them out. If you want to be a part of California's future today, you got to join CRA. And then we've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market for you at hogholsters.com. It's spelled HAWG holsters.com. What does that mean? It means helping Americans wear guns. In fact, they want to help you so much that they want to give you a discount. All you have to do is use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, one word, just like it is right up there, and you're going to get your hog holster on discount today. And then finally, there's the place where you can go where you can find all things tactical except the gun, and that would be at uscombatgear.com. They have a wide selection of products, everything from boots to hats to they got anything you might need for your firearm. They got backpacks. They got it all there. They specialize in group sales. So if you are a buying agent for your group, for your friends, for your department, whatever it is, you need to get on over to uscombatgear.com. And make sure that when you do, you let them know that the guys over at The Rundown sent you. All right, folks, let's go. Oh, by the way, once again, the place where you can find all things tactical except the gun. All right, also want to remind you, if you're watching this program during the 3 o'clock hour on the West Coast or during the 6 o'clock hour on the East Coast, you are watching us live. That's right, you are watching this program live, and we would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from you. I love the back and forth. Just go ahead and let us know who you are. Let us know where you're watching the program from. Once again, you know, I enjoy the concept, but just know this. You don't have to agree with us. All you have to do is be interesting. And I will just say this. The best way to be interesting is to disagree with us, because if you disagree with me, well, then I get the opportunity to mock you.
Oh wow, is that a mockingbird?
Man, is that a mockingbird? Is that a mockingbird?
As Mike would say, we will mock you. And oh, just so y'all know, that is actually the official bird of the state of Florida is the mockingbird. How funny is that? That's how we have Florida, man. All right, we have Ryan B-AC who's watching us over on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will. Well, we'll talk a little bit about that. But he wanted to point out that Trump may have screwed up the primary today by endorsing someone before the primary or before the general or before the primary. I'll just put it to you this way: he may have. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. I'll say this because Donald Trump did endorse Steve Hilton. I'll just say this. In California, first of all, most Republican voters, people who tend to vote Republican, only about 7% had not already made up their mind. So anyone who is going to vote Republican has already made up their mind. Right? Oh, American Crossfire. There you go. Good. Okay, now I know who Ryan B is. All right. But yeah, so thanks for tuning in, American Crossfire. Anyway, some people say may have, but only about 7% hadn't already made up their mind. The people who don't know how they're going to vote are basically the Democrats. They're the ones who don't know. They have no idea who it is that they're going to vote for. In any case, I don't know that it's going to cause that big of a problem. It may or it may not. I will tell you, I think that both of the candidates are handling it rather well. Obviously Steve Hilton is going to he's going to take it in, and he's going to obviously be happy he got the endorsement. And Chad Bianco is, he's basically just, look, I didn't get in this to get endorsed by people. I got in this to get supported by voters. And if you look at, there's almost an equal split in terms of the counties that have endorsed. Some have endorsed Hilton, some have endorsed Chad Bianco. You also have some counties, two counties I know in particular, Sutter County and Sacramento County, actually voted to dual endorse. Here's the interesting thing about this, and this is the thing a lot of people don't realize. So there's no write-in candidate in the fall election under these new rules, right? Under the winner-take-all. So what happens is if a Democrat doesn't make it into the general election, we are guaranteed. In other words, they're not going to marshal their voters. They all think that they're going to get a chance to have a runoff. They may have try to run a write-in campaign. Can't do it. Nope, can't do it. So there could be two Republicans, which basically means Democrats really have no reason to show up and vote. At least in their eyes, they don't have a reason to show up and vote, because most voters, and that's not just Republicans, but most voters only focus on the top of the ticket. Not most, but a lot. Too many voters focus only on the top of the ticket. So that means all of those districts that they tried to make more moderate, all right, that they tried to make so the Democrats could win, that means they're likely to have pretty low voter turnout in those districts. And the districts that they took those Democrat voters from, the Democrat districts that are now more moderate as well, that means that some of those folks aren't going to bother showing up. So that could mean, in places like California, I don't want to say a Republican landslide, but at least a major shift in this election cycle towards the Republican Party or towards Republican candidates. That's something that not a lot of people are talking about. They're especially not talking about the down ticket stuff. And the down ticket stuff, that's where, that's where things could change. I'm not saying California will become a red state, but it definitely might become a little more purple. Anyway, I digress. I'm getting off into a whole bunch of stuff. Let's go ahead and get into today's news topics. I'm going to start with a thing that the FTC has been doing. This is the Federal Trade Commission. And they have really been working to unmask and the amount of lawfare. And when I say lawfare, you know what that is, right? Lawfare is basically warfare utilizing the law. In other words, you have folks who are utilizing the law to ideologically go after individuals and organizations with which they disagree. And it was happening we knew it was happening under the Biden administration. Well, it was even, we knew it was happening under Obama. Well, it was even worse under the Biden administration. And that then leads me to this article here. Over at Breitbart, Trump's FTC unravels Biden's lawfare legacy while holding big tech to account. Over the past several weeks, the Trump administration has aggressively brought pro-consumer populism back to antitrust policy. Trump's antitrust efforts have operated on two tracks. On one of these tracks, regulators are pressing forward with long-awaited cases against the likes of Apple, efforts aimed at curbing platform dominance and restoring competition in digital markets. On the other, they're putting an end to the antitrust legacy the Biden FTC chief, Lina Khan, who was accused of weaponizing lawsuits against businesses the Biden administration didn't like, cracking down on abusive tech companies and ending Biden and Khan's lawfare are viewed inside the administration as pro-consumer. In the past, consumer welfare has been the heart of antitrust enforcement and the focus of the agencies like the FTC. On the first antitrust track, the Trump administration has been pursuing anti-competitive behavior by big tech companies that include through the Justice Department's monopolization case against Apple. According to recent findings, Apple is pushing back aggressively against the government's requests, arguing that the DOJ is seeking sweeping internal documents and data that go far beyond necessary to litigate the case. DOJ hasn't backed down. Okay, let me go to this next one. This is the one we really want to hear about. Ending Biden's lawfare legacy. Trump's government has also made progress towards ending the Biden's lawfare legacy. This is especially true at the FTC, where Khan has been replaced by Andrew Ferguson, who favors more traditional antitrust approach. Ferguson, for example, quickly ended an FTC lawsuit against Pepsi because the company was offering consumers lower prices. And big box stores like Walmart, which the Biden administration perceived as discriminatory against antitrust law. Ferguson noted at the time taxpayer dollars should not be used for legally dubious partisan stunts. Between November 2024 and January 2025, Biden's FTC initiated or referred at least 10 enforcement actions, an unprecedented blizzard on the way out the door. Many of these have since been eliminated by Ferguson, though he is still working through some of them. Now, folks, this is vitally important because what you have here is you had an administration that was basically picking winners and losers. And companies or individuals or organizations or businesses basically that didn't fall in line with the governmental orthodoxy, you were on the wrong side of an enforcement action. Basically meaning they made it very, very difficult for you to make money. And not only did they make it difficult for you to make money, but you were also spending a lot of money defending yourself in order to either get in compliance or just fight the action. This is going to make a big difference for a lot of businesses. It's going to allow them to be able to innovate more. It's going to allow. It's going to make people want to invest more in American markets and in whatever they're doing here in the United States of America. And we also know that once again, lawfare was been used against many people. Hey, of course, he's going to be sympathetic to it because lawfare was used against him, Donald Trump himself. I mean, think about, for example, Well, all you got to do is think about the whole property issue, right? You know, the one where he was accused of overestimating the value of his property, and he was taken to account by Letitia James. You know, by the way, I think he was told he was have to pay somewhere around $500 million, and remember that got thrown out. Yeah, it's that sort of stuff that the Biden administration has been doing once again against companies, entities, and organizations that they disagreed with. And I, for one, say that this is a big, big deal. I know, it's kind of a policy wonky type of a thing. So you may not think it is, but for me, I think it's a pretty big deal. All right, here's another one that a lot of folks are going to say, well, is this a big deal? Is this not a big deal? But we've talked on this program, and I had on my other program, we had Harmeet Dillon on. Who is the Deputy Attorney General for Civil Rights. And she's also overseeing the new department that they have there dealing with promoting of or protecting of our Second Amendment rights, of gun rights. Well, one of the criticisms has been that while they have started off, when they initially started, they were very, very aggressive in going after local municipalities and states that were violating our right to keep and bear arms. But there were also a lot of things that the federal government was doing that was undermining our rights that people thought they ought not be doing. And one of those was in the regulatory realm. And you might remember because we did the story here, and it was also in the interview. She said this when I interviewed her on 2A News. You know, she made it very clear. She was like, "Look, we're getting things in place and changing. It can't just be, well, we're going to overturn this regulation. We've got to change how regulation, rework how regulations are done in order to make sure that when we turn them back, it's not redone. We don't just wind up right back here in the same place." And so that's been largely what they have been focusing on. And it appears that they are now in a position where that's what they're going to start doing. They're actually starting to work on it, working on pistol braces. Yeah, you might remember that. Pistol braces. It says here, and this is being reported by Stars and Stripes, pistol brace rule, a target for new gun rights office proposed by White House. It says here, the White House announced plans to create an office to protect the Second Amendment rights of gun owners, which will include a focus on ending federal regulation affecting disabled veterans and other individuals who use pistol braces. The 2027 budget that President Donald Trump's administration released last week includes a proposal to fund an office within the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department dedicated to protecting gun rights. An early priority of the office is to stop enforcement of Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms explosive regulation that criminally penalizes gun owners who do not register their pistol braces according to a White House budget request. Pistol braces are accessories that strap to a user's forearm for stability and control. The White House budget request for $1.4 million to establish the office states that it would seek to reverse rules that criminalize gun ownership. The proposal refers to current criminal penalties of up to 10 years in prison for failing to register, quote, pistol braces that make it possible for disabled veterans to use firearms. Under former President Joe Biden, the ATF established a rule for determining whether pistols equipped with stabilization braces should be considered, quote, short-barreled rifles, and subject to stricter regulation under the National Firearms Act, according to the Duke Center for Firearms Law. Quote, stabilization braces were created and manufactured for the purpose of disabled veterans and veterans to hold, stabilize, aim, and fire correctly and safely. Unfortunately, the Biden administration has deemed those braces particularly lethal. Representative Tom Cole, a Republican from Oklahoma, said in June 2023 after the ATF rule took place. So most of us don't use pistol braces, but for those who do and those who need it, we can see there's already one of the things they're talking about doing is overturning this rule. The thing is that this is the beginning of them starting to take on some of the federal rules, some of the actions that the feds can actually do. Other things that they can do, right? Stop defending certain laws. Stop sending DOJ staff to go and defend various different laws, right? That we know are unconstitutional, and we know that basically they're eventually going to wind up being overturned by the courts. But we're now spending, and we're requiring organizations like Firearms Policy Coalition, like the Second Amendment Foundation, like Gun Owners of America, like NRA, to spend money, to spend your money, to spend my money, to spend our money, to fight the government, as well as, by the way, they're using tax dollars to fight it, so they're using our money twice to fight some of these laws. Well, why not just say, you know what, we're done. We're not going to fight these anymore. Right? We're not going to defend these laws anymore. We're going to take the L. Right? That's a big thing that they can be doing. Anyway, this is the beginning of that. So we're starting to see these things start to happen, and that's why that once again is going to be a pretty big deal. Anyway, moving right along. So in California, I don't know if if you follow California news, you've heard about this, but I got to tell you, so right now in California, we've got a situation where we've had multiple people who were older folk who are in prison, who are very, very dangerous sexual predators, who have been basically let out of prison on parole. There was one guy who had, I think it was 2 or 3 consecutive life sentences. And it was then released on compassionate grounds because he was now over the age of 65, and they ruled that he could be released from prison. This is the law that Gavin Newsom and the Democrats in the state of California wholly supported. Well, it appears that now they are catching a whole bunch of flack for it, and are first of all, Republicans were pushing to amend it. But now it looks like they are now falling in line. As it says, Sacramento Democrats amend AB 2727, serial rapists and child predators now eligible for elderly parole at age 65. It says here, Assembly member Stephanie Wynn, a Democrat, and Sacramento County District Attorney Tin Ho, a Democrat candidate for the U.S. House in California's 6th Congressional District in the 2026 election, have agreed to amend Assembly Bill 2727, opening the door for serial sex offenders and child predators, including those sentenced to multiple life terms, to qualify for elderly parole hearings once they turn 65. The amended bill passed by the Assembly Public Safety Committee, and by the way, they don't care about the public safety at all, on Wednesday with bipartisan support, but delivers far weaker protections than originally promised. The original proposal was introduced in February 2026 with strong safeguards, permanent bans on elderly parole for the most heinous child sex crimes, including aggravated sexual assault of a child, forcible lewd acts, and one-strike offenses against multiple victims, and a higher bar of age 75 with 30 years served for other violent sexual offenses. The amended version guts those promises. It merely raises the eligible age from 50, and that's one of the problems right now. Right now it's at 50 to 65 for many violent sex offenders, and adds a Department of State hospitals screening. It drops the permanent exclusion and the tougher 75-30 threshold entirely. The bill, which advanced out of the Assembly Public Safety Committee on Tuesday with bipartisan support, was originally positioned as a reform in a direct response to public outrage over the near release of notorious offenders David Allen Funson and serial child molester sentenced in 1999 to 3 life terms for abusing multiple children. Funston reportedly still admits to ongoing sexual attraction to children. Became eligible under the state's existing elderly parole program. Age 50 is considered elderly, and was only stopped from walking free after new charges surfaced. So what happened was the Placer County Sheriff basically, there was a set of charges that he was not charged for, and they weren't going to bother charging him for those because he already had 3 life sentences. Well, once they were about to release him, the statute of limitations didn't run out on these. So they decided, well, they're going to go ahead and charge him. And so that's how they were able to keep this guy in jail. But now here you had a bill that was supposed to make it so that, first of all, if you're guilty of any of these heinous crimes, you should not be out. I mean, if you are raping a child, no, you should. You should not be. You should not be getting early release, right? But right now they're getting released for being quote unquote elderly at the age of 50, right? At the age of 50. Now, I'll just tell you, I'm 55, 56 years old. I am not elderly, despite what my kids might say. But I just know that, anyway, there's no way these people should be getting out of jail. Absolutely, positively no way. Especially when you got this one guy is admitting that he is still sexually attracted to children. You know, it is beyond nuts. It is beyond nuts. So anyway, so they were going to they were going to make it so that if you're guilty of one of those really bad crimes, no way. Then they were also going to change it to where it was 75. Well, they reduced that down to 65, and they're still going to allow, once again, sexual predators, rapists, and child molesters. They're still going to let them out. They're still going to be letting them out of prison once they hit that age. Now they're calling it compassionate release. Oh, excuse me. But part of the issue is, one of the reasons they're doing this is in order to reduce healthcare costs. That's a big motivator behind this, because obviously once you get over a certain age, you have more medical issues. And I think what they're looking at in this particular case is they're thinking, well, you know, if we let them out, then we're no longer responsible for their health care. Well, first of all, the taxpayers are still going to be on the hook, because they're going to get out of jail and they're going to wind up on some sort of government assistance, and they're going to wind up on Medicare, Medicaid, and we're going to wind up taking care of them anyway. So you don't save the taxpayers any money by doing this. And even still, I would rather pay the money and keep sexual predators in jail. Anyway, so Democrats amended a bill that would have done something serious. All they did was change the age from 50 to 65. I know, insane. And Democrats are they're going to be in a really, really tough spot here in California in these upcoming elections, because people are realizing that the problem is not Donald Trump. People in California, they may not like Donald Trump, but more and more they're realizing that he is not the problem that we're dealing with here in California. The problem we're dealing with, well, they got a big D, and they got a big D in their name, and it ain't Donald. I will just leave it at that. Okay, that now brings us to our next story. And by the way, talking about Democrats and problems, this one is a funny one. As you probably know, Hunter Biden is not being flown around on Air Force Two anymore. He's not being flown around on Air Force Two collecting bags of cash anymore. That job kind of expired. We also know that his painting career has taken a bit of a dive, as there's nobody interested in buying his paintings any longer. Gee, I wonder why. Well, turns out, as a result, dude's broke. And so in order to help drum up some interest in who he is and what he's doing, Hunter Biden is so broke. In order to pay his lawyer, he's challenging Trump's sons to a cage match at a YouTuber event. Yeah, let's read this one. It says here, Hunter Biden is crying poor again over legal debts he incurred from retaining high-powered attorney Abel Lowell in his federal tax and gun crime case. Even as the troubled former first son announced a U.S.-based tour on a popular with a popular YouTuber where he wants to cage fight the president's sons. Lowell's firm Winston and Straub LLP sued Biden in Washington, D.C. civil court in June of 2025 for breach of contract over unpaid fees, which Biden said as recently as last December racked up to as much as $15 million for all the legal woes in recent years. But as of March 2026, Biden and the law firm have been unable to agree on the total amount he owes, prompting a request to a judge to settle the dispute, centering on production of emails and other records memorializing what portion of the sum had gone unpaid. Okay, I'm still looking for here we go. Hunter was previously dealing. I'm not worried about all that. Anyway, I'm trying to find out where. Here we go. Oh, he asked me to come out on the Channel 5 Carnival tour. Channel 5 Carnival tour at the end of the month. Hunter said of Callaghan in a post on X. I think he's trying to organize a cage match, me versus Eric or Don Jr. So yeah, so he's trying to get people interested in the idea of doing a cage match, you know, of watching them in a cage match. Now, you know, the only way in which I think he would have a shot of winning is if they wound up putting like a crack pipe there, and it was actually a fight to see who could get the crack pipe. That's the only way I think he would stand a chance of winning that one. Anyway, it is still, having said all of that, entirely too funny. All right, folks, well, that now brings us to our parting shots. Now, parting shots are brought to you by the folks over at Hog Hosters. Just go to hoghosters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, one word, and get your Hog Holster today. All right, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but this right here is a bit crazy. This lady is part of the new Democratic Socialist Party of Canada. And you guys know we've got Dave Chappelle referred to them as the alphabet people. Well, the alphabet people have added a bunch of new letters. And to fully understand and appreciate our parting shot, which is coming to us from the Babylon Bee, fake news that you can trust, you have to hear this. You have to hear this quote right here. Here it goes.
Deal with the ongoing genocide of MMIW G2S LGBTQIA+. This is abhorrent.
Okay. That is way more letters. That is way more letters than wow. That's all I gotta say is wow. Anyway, so this is a list that comes to you from the Babylon Bee, fake news that you can trust. Here's what each of the 73 letters in Canada's new LGBT acronym stand for. It says here, and I'll read the introduction to you. If you haven't heard, Canada has officially dropped a new acronym for the LGBT movement. With many new additions, the LGBT community in Canada now has. I'm not even going to read all of those. You guys can see all of those letters. Anyway, so I will go through them all right now. It's quite a mouthful. So first of all, we have MM, which is merman attracted. And then we've got B, bicyclist. Then we've got JOU, which is James O'Keefe undercover. Interesting. We got Q, which is Cubicus, whatever that means. We got TJ, people exclusively sexually attracted to Trader Joe's. Okay. L, that's Lindsey Graham, of course. AYA, that's the gay Ayatollah. We got WD-40. That's a type of oil you may have used by accident. We've got ROM, or room, people who are attracted to Roomba vacuums. We've got DCF, which is the Dallas Cowboy fans. Oh, that was cool. That's a cool shot right there. Plus equals plus size. S for Steve. So if your name is Steve, you're in this now. VP, which is Village People Attracted. Maybe Trump. Trump may qualify for that one. We've got WIZ, Wizard Sexual. I don't know what this thing is, what that's supposed to be, but it says not sure sexual. Okay. Then we've got BFJT, which is Blackface Trudeau. We've got W, that's the Welsh. We've got LEGO, only attracted to Lego characters. BLT, bacon, lettuce, and tomato. This was during the acronym writer's lunch break, evidently. You got the pound sign. That's European regular American gay. Then we've got LAD, which is the LA Dodgers. We've got Barack Obama. That's BO. And then we've got SUB, which is Subaru owners. We've got DD, which is Christine, double D, which is Christine Holmes' husband. Oh, wow. Okay, we got BLA, which is Bud Light Attracted. GF, Gay Frogs. And then we've got Angry Face, angry lesbians. Anyway, okay, thank you, Canada. You have made my day. I will just put it to you that way. That is entirely too weird. I'm just going to leave it at that. That is just entirely too weird. Anyway, folks, that's now going to bring us to, that's going to bring us to the end of our show. But before we go, we're going to give one more quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with the folks over at Hitman Industries. Rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase at hitmanindustries.net. Then we've got the California Republican Assembly, the conscience of the Republican Party. Check them out at cragop.org. We've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market at hawgholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com, helping Americans wear guns. And then finally, the place where you can find all things tactical except the gun. And that would be at uscombatgear.com. All right, that's going to be it for today's program. I will be back, hopefully we will be back tomorrow for our program, for Free for All Friday. Till then, y'all have fun, y'all stay safe, and we will see you mañana.